The Dust Mother burned. The Hollow Prophet fell, but the West didn't find peace, it just paused. Now the spiral glows gold. A child walks without memory, and somewhere beyond the horizon, the last temple begins to wake. Alana and Maria ride with scars they don't talk about. A dead god's echo hums in a little girl's chest, and the road ahead leads to the one place even gods fear to tread, where silence was born. Lynn? Voiceover, calm, ominous. This is part 2 of Grave Dust and Gunpowder, a tale of blood, bone, and what survives after Godfire fades. If you made it this far, you already know, the West doesn't stay dead for long. Grave Dust and Gunpowder. Chapter 24. The Gold Spiral. Gods don't leave graves. They leave echoes faint, strange, stitched to the living in ways that don't make sense till it's too late. And Melissa, she didn't just burn. She planned. The spiral that glowed gold wasn't a curse. It was a safeguard. And the girl who doesn't cry is what's left of that final prayer. The spiral stayed lit till dawn. No fire, no heat, just that golden hum, soft and warm, like the inside of a wound that never broke. The girl sat in the center, eyes closed, hands folded, like she was waiting. Alana didn't move. Maria stood behind her, blade loose in her fingers, unsure if she was guarding the girl or the world from her. "This ain't like the black spiral," Maria said. "No," Alana whispered. "That one took. This one protects." They opened the journal they found in Crossvale, the one written in that unfamiliar language. Now, under the gold light, it translated itself. Each page flickered. Symbols turned into words, and one name repeated over and over. Safeguard Vessel, she who wasn't meant to survive. Melissa had written it. Not as a god, as a woman. A final entry scrawled in blood and wax. If I lose, let her carry what I cannot. If I win, let her sleep. If she wakes, the world is not safe, but it is still ours. Maria closed the book. She knew she wouldn't make it. She also knew something worse would, Alana replied. The girl opened her eyes. Golden light flickered in her pupils. Still no words, but she stood and pointed west. "What's that way?" Maria asked. "Nothing," Alana said. "Exactly," the girl whispered, her first word in days. And then, he's waiting. Not Neat, not Eustace, something older. The gold spiral burned away. Ash in the wind. The girl didn't blink. And somewhere, far west of the sky, a temple began to breathe for the first time in 1,000 years. Grave Dust and Gunpowder. Chapter 24. The Gold Spiral. Gods don't leave graves. They leave echoes faint, strange, stitched to the living in ways that don't make sense till it's too late. And Melissa, she didn't just burn. She planned. The spiral that glowed gold wasn't a curse. It was a safeguard. And the girl who doesn't cry is what's left of that final prayer. The spiral stayed lit till dawn. No fire, no heat, just that golden hum, soft and warm, like the inside of a womb that never broke. The girl sat in the center, eyes closed, hands folded, like she was waiting. Alana didn't move. Maria stood behind her, blade loose in her fingers, unsure if she was guarding the girl or the world from her. "This ain't like the black spiral," Maria said. "No," Alana whispered. "That one took. This one protects." They opened the journal they found in Crossvale, the one written in that unfamiliar language. Now, under the gold light, it translated itself. Each page flickered. Symbols turned into words, and one name repeated over and over. Safeguard Vessel, she who wasn't meant to survive. Melissa had written it. Not as a god, as a woman. A final entry scrawled in blood and wax. If I lose, let her carry what I cannot. If I win, let her sleep. If she wakes, the world is not safe, but it is still ours. Maria closed the book. She knew she wouldn't make it. She also knew something worse would, Alana replied. The girl opened her eyes. Golden light flickered in her pupils. Still no words. But she stood and pointed west. What's that way? Maria asked. Nothing, Alana said. Exactly, the girl whispered, her first word in days. And then, he's waiting. Not Neat, not Eustace, something older. The gold spiral burned away. Ash in the wind. The girl didn't blink. And somewhere, far west of the sky, a temple began to breathe for the first time in 1,000 years. Grave Dust and Gunpowder. Chapter 25, Where Gods Go to Hide. There's a stretch of land so dry, even ghosts don't bother crossing it. No trees, no wind, just sun, stone, and silence that stares back. Folks call it dead, but it ain't. It's resting. Because somewhere out there, under sand and bone, the old gods sleep. And now someone's riding right toward them. 3 riders, 1 child, no map. The gold spiral was gone, but the girl's eyes hadn't stopped glowing. Not bright, not fierce, just steady like an oil lamp that couldn't be blown out. Maria rode quiet. Alana never let go of her rifle. The girl? She pointed west, always west, without blinking. They reached the edge of the Candle Flats by dusk. It wasn't on any map, just a sea of cracked earth, dotted with black spires that looked like burnt candles. Smoke curled off the tips, but there was no fire, just heat, alive and breathing. I know this place, the girl whispered. How? Alana asked. Not how, who? She stepped down from the horse and walked barefoot into the flats. The air shimmered around her. The spires sang. They followed her down into a narrow ravine cut straight through stone, like the land had been split by a scream. And there, they found it. A door, half buried in ash, built of bones, melted iron, and a stone that bled when Maria touched it. No handle, no keyhole, but the girl placed her hand on it. And it opened. Inside, cold, the kind that makes fire forget how to burn. Walls lined with carvings of faces with mouths sewn shut. Statues bent backward in worship of things that had no name. At the center, a throne. Empty. For now, this is where they hid, the girl said. Who? Maria asked. The ones older than gods, the ones who never wanted worship, just silence. Why'd they leave? Alana said. They didn't. The girl looked up. They're still here. And from the darkness behind the throne, something shifted. Not walking, just watching. Grave Dust and Gunpowder. Chapter 26, The Throne That Waited. Some thrones are built with power, others with blood. But this one? It was made of patience. Stone worn by centuries of silence, shaped not by hands but by fear. And now, for the first time in an age, the throne of the Silent Ones has a visitor. The girl didn't ask permission. She walked straight down the long, narrow corridor, feet bare, eyes wide toward the throne wrapped in shadow. Alana tried to follow. The air pushed her back. Maria stepped forward. Her blade hissed froze solid. The girl turned to them. It only lets me in. What is it? Maria asked. A seat, she said, but not for ruling. For remembering. She touched the armrest. The room trembled. The carvings on the walls moved. Faces twisted. Eyes blinked. Mouths sewed shut began to pulse. Not with breath. With words they weren't allowed to say. Alana raised her rifle. You sure this is a good idea? Maria didn't answer. Because they'd already lost Neat. Already lost Melissa. And now they were watching a child step into a chair meant for things that came before prayer. The girl sat. The stone groaned. Dust rained from the ceiling. The humming started again, but it wasn't coming from her. It was coming from beneath the throne. She's waking it, Alana said. No, Maria whispered. It's waking her. A light burst from the floor circles within circles, gold turning to white, turning to something with no color at all. And the girl began to speak. Not in English, not in any tongue left in this world. But the temple listened. And behind the throne, A door opened. From within, a whisper. Not loud, just enough for Alana to hear it say, "She is not the last." Grave Dust and Gunpowder. Chapter 27. The Door Behind the Throne. Some doors don't open with keys. They open with names. And some names aren't spoken aloud. They're carried. In blood, in silence, in children who never asked to be chosen. This door didn't lead forward. It led under, to where the old gods left the parts of themselves they couldn't kill. The door was a wound. Stone bent into a shape that shouldn't exist round, but jagged, alive, but still. It pulsed every few seconds, like it remembered breathing. Alana stepped forward, rifle ready. Maria dragged the edge of her blade across her palm, offering steel and blood. The girls stood between them. "If we go in," Alana said, "we might not come back." "You won't," the girl replied, "but you'll matter." Behind the door, nothing. Not dark, not light, just nothing. A void carved out of memory. A tunnel of silence so deep it rang in their teeth. They entered. The walls inside shifted. Not solid, not smoke, more like time-wearing flesh. Carvings appeared as they walked. A woman burning. A prophet kneeling. A man with a spiral on his chest. A girl, alone, eyes open, holding the world in her hands and letting it fall. Maria froze. "That's her. That's what she becomes," Alana whispered. At the end of the corridor stood a pedestal. On it, a book, bound in gold thread, written in symbols that flickered between legible and forgotten. The girl stepped forward. This is what Melissa saved. The god didn't want silence. It wanted shape. "What do you mean?" Maria asked. "It wanted to become. It needed a body. It needed me." Alana raised her weapon. "Then we stop it. Right here. Right now." But the girl didn't flinch. She touched the book. It opened. The temple rumbled. Not collapsing, shifting. Because the door wasn't made to open. It was made to release. From behind the walls, something stepped through. It wore no face. It cast no shadow. But it knew their names. Chapter 28. The Thing That Knew Their Names. The throne wasn't made for sitting. It was made for bearing weight, not physical, but ancestral. It remembered every soul who had dared to kneel before it. Kings, killers, prophets, liars. The shape of their regrets pressed into its bones like rings on a felled tree. The girl placed her hands on the armrests. The stone sizzled beneath her palms. Maria stepped forward, but was stopped mid-step by an invisible pull, like the room itself refused interference. Alana shouted again, but her voice warped in the air, becoming a hollow echo before it reached the girl's ears. "She's not listening," Alana growled. "She's becoming," Maria muttered. "Becoming what?" The light in the spiral changed again. This time, it flowed up, not just glowing, but forming. Shapes began to rise from its figures, hollow at first, then gaining weight. Faces they recognized. Melissa, Neat, Eustace, even Maria's husband, flickering, phasing in and out like reflections on a broken mirror. "What the hell is this?" Maria breathed. The girl's lips moved. Whispers. Not her own voice. Not one voice at all. A chorus. "This temple doesn't grant power," she said. "It collects it, stores it, holds on to what's too heavy to bury." The throne pulsed on so deep and low like a heartbeat from the earth's marrow. The creature behind the door began to sway in rhythm. Its shape shimmered with memory melting between faces. One blink, it was Melissa. The next, it was the preacher. Then it wore Maria's expression. Alana had seen enough. She raised her rifle and fired. The bullet struck the creature and passed through, but something bled. Not blood, memory. It poured out in stream images, sounds, voices, Melissa laughing, Neat screaming, the night the chapel burned. Maria stumbled, nearly dropping her blade. "It's made of them," she whispered, "of everyone we lost." "That's why it knows us," Alana said. "It is us, the worst of us." The girl closed her eyes. The throne's arms curled around her fingers. Stone cracked. Her skin glowed gold and white, veins shining like roots through parchment. She looked older now, not aged-ancient. "I see it all now," she said, voice layered with something older. "What do you see?" Maria asked. Why Melissa died, why Neat turned, why Eustace listened to something that wasn't his god. And what does it mean? The girl looked directly at Maria. Her eyes burned like dying suns. It means the silence wasn't empty, it was pregnant, and we're here to decide what it gives birth to. The spiral blazed white, then cracked. A soundless explosion rippled through the temple. Statues shattered. The bones in the throne crumbled. The girl's body lifted into the air, arms wide. She wasn't glowing anymore. She was burning. "She's going to die," Maria said, stepping forward. "No," Alana said, "she's going to decide." Behind her, the creature spread its form, wider its limbs stretching around the room like branches of a tree older than time, its mouth open not to speak, but to receive. "Choose," it said. "What choice?" Alana shouted. "Let us continue, or erase what remains." The girl hovered between them, caught between the world's last light and its first shadow. Then she whispered something. One word. "Stay." The spiral collapsed. The creature screamed not in pain, but in recoil. It folded in on itself, its limbs evaporating into mist. One final face, Melissa's, flashed across its surface. Then it was gone. The girl fell. Alana caught her. She was cold, but breathing. Just human. The spiral faded from the floor. The temple began to tremble. Stone gave way. Roots burst through the walls. The world above was reclaiming this place. "We need to go," Maria said. "We can't leave her," Alana replied. "We're not." They carried the girl out as the temple sealed behind them slowly, like a mouth closing after a long story. The sun was rising over the flats. And for the first time in what felt like 1,000 years, it didn't feel like a threat. Chapter 29. The Shovel and the Signal. Dust didn't settle. It watched. The candle flats behind them were silent, but not still. The spiral was gone. The creature was gone. The throne was dust. But something was listening. Alana didn't sleep. Not after what they'd seen. Not after what the girl had become. She hadn't said a word since the temple. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. Didn't dream. She just sat against the base of a bluff with her knees tucked in and her eyes open, humming quietly to herself like a child sitting through the end of the world. Maria stood at the edge of the ridge, looking down at a flat basin speckled with rock and bone. "There's something out there." Alana looked up. "You mean besides everything that already tried to kill us?" "I mean now, look at the sky. The stars were wrong. Not gone, not misaligned, just unfamiliar. They didn't shimmer, they pulsed, like someone was sending a signal through them." "That's not the sky," Alana whispered. "It's a mirror." "A mirror for what? For who's watching?" The girl stood suddenly, her eyes fixed west. "They found it." Alana stepped closer. "Found what?" "The spiral, the stone, the one buried before even Melissa." Maria narrowed her eyes. "You mean there's another?" "There's always another," the girl said. "One spiral closes, another opens." They reached the edge of a narrow valley by dusk. And they weren't alone. Smoke, fresh. Voices echoing off rock, tools clinking. A camp. They climbed slow. Alana went first, rifle drawn. Maria at her back with a knife in her sleeve and pistol loose at her hip. What they saw chilled them. 3 wagons, 2 mules, 5 men digging a perfect circle in the center of the basin, just like the spiral that opened beneath Crossvale. And at the center of the dig, resting on a wooden frame, a slab of stone with a carved mark glowing faint red. Alana's heart sank. It wasn't just a spiral, it was Melissa's spiral. "She marked more than us," Alana whispered. "No," the girl said softly. "She marked this, as a warning." "Then why is it still glowing?" "Because someone's listening to it." One of the diggers turned suddenly, looked straight at them. His eyes weren't black. They were blue, glassy, like lake water that forgot it was wet. He smiled. You brought the key, he said. We were starting to think she'd never wake. Chapter 30. The Sound Beneath Dirt. The man with the lake-water eyes didn't blink, didn't raise a weapon, didn't flinch when Maria's blade gleamed in the low firelight. He just kept smiling. We thought she'd resist longer, he said. Back away from the stone, Alana warned, rifle firm at her shoulder. You think this is still about weapons? He chuckled. The spiral doesn't care what you carry, it only answers what you bury. The girl stepped forward before Alana could stop her. Where did you find it? We didn't, the man said. She brought it to us. A figure stepped from the shadows of the second wagon. At first, Maria didn't recognize her. Then she did, and her knees buckled. You, she whispered. It was Ivy, Melissa's sister, burned in the chapel fire, or so they thought. Her hair had grown long and matted, face drawn thin, but her eyes burned just like her sister's once did, gold at the edges, rage at the core. You lit the fire, Maria said, stepping back. I fed it, Ivy replied. Melissa was always too soft to finish what we started. You were dead. I was forgotten, Ivy said, stepping toward the stone. Not the same thing. The girl tensed. She's not one of them. She's more, Ivy smiled. Melissa passed her spiral on. I breathed mine in. You let it in? Alana asked, stunned. No, Ivy said. I let me in. No gods, no cages, just us. She knelt by the stone and pressed her palm against it. The entire basin trembled. Behind the dig site, one of the wagons cracked open its boards, splintering from within. A figure crawled out. Skin stretched thin, eyes sewn shut, but moving, breathing. Maria pulled her blade. Alana shouted. But more hands came from beneath the dirt. And Ivy only smiled. They buried the wrong sister. Chapter 31. Ashes in her mouth. The first of them rose slow, like they hadn't clawed through soil, but been whispered out of it. 6 of them, then 10, then more. Their eyes were shut with thread. Some of them hummed, others muttered prayers in languages no one alive remembered, but all of them moved the same way, like they knew exactly where to go. Straight toward the girl. Alana fired first. One dropped, still twitching. The bullet had torn through what was left of its jaw, but it didn't scream, just fell silently, like it agreed with its own death. Maria spun, slicing clean through a second one's neck. It didn't bleed, just collapsed in 2 slow-moving pieces, each part trying to crawl forward on its own. What are these? Maria gasped. She called them witnesses, the girl said, backing away. They don't see. They remember. Remember what? The part of the god that Melissa couldn't kill. Ivy didn't flinch, didn't give orders. She just watched, grinning. They don't need me to lead, she said. They already believe. Alana grabbed a girl's hand and ran, pulling her up the slope toward the fire line. Maria followed, covering the rear, blade already soaked in blackened sludge. They broke through the edge of the basin into dry wind and moonlight. But the witnesses kept coming slow, steady, relentless. Then the humming changed. The girl stopped. They're not coming for me, she whispered. What do you mean? They're singing for what's behind me. Alana turned and froze. Ivy was no longer alone. She stood in the circle, arms outstretched, mouth open. And something was stepping through her. Not into her through. A shape, a shimmer, a tall, twisted outline of gold and bone, like a cathedral trying to walk. The girl stepped forward on her own. She's calling the old light, the girl whispered. Not Godfire. Before that, the raw spiral. Maria aimed. We end it here. But Alana didn't move. She was staring at Ivy, and seeing something she hadn't seen since the chapel burned. Regret. Just for a moment, in Ivy's face, like she hadn't expected it to work. Like she thought maybe she'd still be herself afterward. Then the moment passed, and the spiral behind her opened. Chapter 32, When Dust Stood Still. The second spiral wasn't carved in stone. It floated. Not in the sky, not on the earth. Just in the air, like it had always been there, and the world was only now remembering to see it. It spun slowly, each thread unwound like red string soaked in milk, beautiful, wrong, holy. The witnesses froze mid-step, mid-hum, mid-death. One fell sideways and didn't even grunt as its head struck the dirt. Another twitched on its knees like it was mid-prayer, arms raised to the air, waiting for instruction that no longer came. The spiral didn't hum. It listened. Maria took one cautious step back, the heels of her boots sinking into the cracked edge of the basin. She held her blade low, but her stance shifted, ready to move, strike, or run. "We saw that once before," she said, barely above a whisper. Alana kept her rifle up but nodded slow. Under Crossvale, when Melissa lit the chapel and made herself the lock. "No," the girl said. "That spiral was hers. This one is older, the first, the raw one, the one Melissa never touched because she couldn't." "Then why's it here now?" Maria asked. "Because Ivy called it." The girl didn't blink. Alana's heart was beating so hard it made her ears throb. The spiral grew larger, not faster, just more real. Like it was sliding out of a dream and into flesh. From within its slow-turning belly, something moved. Not a figure, not exactly. It had the height of a person, the outline of a torso, the suggestion of limbs, but none of it held shape. It was a ripple, a smear, a walking afterthought. The echo of a body long forgotten but not yet forgiven. Alana's finger rested on the rifle's trigger, but she didn't squeeze. Not yet. Maria crouched slightly, blade trembling in her grip. Not from fear, but recognition. Some warrior's part of her remembered this. Something old and deep, older than memory but just as sharp. "What is that?" Alana asked. "What comes after gods forget their names?" the girl answered. "And what does it want?" "It doesn't want, it remembers." Then the spiral pulsed. Once, twice, and then they heard it. Not a voice, not words, just moments. Maria smelled her husband's soap lemon rind and dust. She heard his boots hit the floor that last morning, heard him say her name, Maria. Alana felt the heat of the chapel fire the moment Melissa shoved her out the door, whispering, "Live for me." She tasted ash in her mouth. Her hands ached from pulling Neat's corpse from the blood-soaked dirt. The girl, she heard lullabies from someone who wasn't her mother, wasn't her aunt, but sounded like both. And then, silence. A silence that clung to her for years. The spiral wasn't speaking. It was mirroring. Maria stumbled back. Her boots slipped on loose shale. She caught herself, panting. "It's feeding on us," she gasped. "No," the girl whispered. "It's offering itself." Alana stepped in front of her. "The last thing we need is another god asking for permission." "It's not asking," the girl said. "It's testing." Then Ivy screamed, not in agony, in betrayal. She was still on her knees near the broken wagon, hands lifted toward the spiral, face twisted in rage. "I called you," she screamed. "I broke the ground. I bled for you." The spiral ignored her. Didn't shrink. Didn't grow. Just spun. Just waited. "I was the one," Ivy cried. "Melissa ran. I stayed." "It doesn't want her," the girl said. "It wants who's left." Alana turned. The spiral pulsed and stepped closer. She didn't know how she moved so fast. One breath she was frozen. The next she was standing between the girl and the spiral, rifle lowered, arms out. Her shirt tore across her chest as the spiral scar reignited. It flared beneath her skin like hot metal traced by God's finger. Her knees buckled, but she didn't fall. "No more keys," she growled. "No more gates." "Then what are you?" the girl asked. "I'm the door, and it stays shut." The spiral wavered. The shape inside paused, and then it bowed. A ripple in time bowed to Alana, and vanished. The light disappeared like it had never been. The spiral snapped closed not with sound, but with stillness. The witnesses collapsed like dolls cut from their strings. The humming stopped. The air broke into pieces of breeze. Ivy dropped to the ground, not screaming, not crying, just empty. She stared at her palms like she'd never seen them before. "I was supposed to be the one," she whispered. Alana stepped past her. Maria followed, eyes never leaving Ivy's broken face. "You were," Alana said, "just not for this." They walked away. They didn't look back. and the desert swallowed the circle behind them, like it had never been dug, like gods never existed, like the spiral never opened at all. Chapter 33. The Men Who Don't Stay Dead. They made camp in silence, a full mile from where the ground stopped pulsing. No fire, no stories, just dust, darkness, and 3 bodies too tired to sleep. Alana sat with her back against a rock, fingers twitching on the stock of her rifle. The girl was asleep, if that's what you called the half-moan, half-breath rhythm that leaked from her lips as her head rested in Maria's lap. Maria hadn't said a word in over an hour, not since she'd cut the thread out of the mouth of one of the witnesses before they buried him. Not since she saw that his tongue had been carved with Melissa's name. Alana finally broke the quiet. How long you think Ivy was down there? Waiting? Since the fire. Maria answered without looking up. She could have left, walked away, started over. Some folks don't want to survive, Maria said. They want to matter, even if it means letting the world burn just to light their name. The girl stirred. We're not alone. Alana sat up straighter. They followed us? No, the girl said. These ones were already here. Hoofbeats. Slow, heavy. Not a gallop, not a charge. Just the deliberate rhythm of something that didn't care how long it took to arrive. Alana grabbed her rifle and looked past the ridge. 5 horses. 4 riders, all dressed in black dusters. Wide hats. No faces. Not because of distance, because there weren't any. Where their faces should have been, there was nothing but shadow and wind. Maria stood slowly. I've seen that walk before. Where? Alana asked. A dream, or a memory, or maybe just a warning. The girl stood too, eyes narrowed. They don't have names. Not anymore, but they used to be men. What are they now? Alana asked. Collectors? The lead rider raised one skeletal hand and pointed not at the girl. At Maria. Alana shifted her stance. You want her, you come through me. The rider didn't move. He simply reached into his coat and pulled out something wrapped in old velvet. He tossed it at their feet. Alana flinched. Maria didn't. She knelt and unwrapped it slowly. A knife. Black steel. Red handle. Familiar. That's mine, she said. They want you to remember, the girl whispered. Remember what? The deal you made. Maria froze. I never. You did, the girl said softly. Before the fire, before the chapel, before the blade left your hand. Maria looked at Alana, then at the shadows waiting in the distance, then at the blade. Her voice cracked. I told them I'd do anything to protect her. And now they've come to collect, Alana said. The girl looked up at Maria with wide, sad eyes. Who did you mean to protect? Maria didn't answer. Not yet, because now she wasn't sure. Chapter 34. The Blade Remembers. The shadows did not come closer. They didn't need to. They waited like debts wait, like promises made in pain and paid in silence. Maria turned the knife in her hands, its edge still sharp despite the yearsaw, maybe because of them. It smelled like blood that had already dried, like fire that never cooled. The leather grip was worn, smooth in all the right places. It remembered her fingers. I used this once, she whispered. Before Crossvale, before Alana, before I ever laid eyes on Melissa. You used it to bargain, the girl said, not to kill. Alana knelt beside her, watching the riders on the ridge. You want to explain? No, Maria said. Then make it quick. The girl stood, stepping between them and the shadows. They only come for what was promised. So how do we send them back? Alana asked. You don't, the girl said. You replace the promise, or pay it. The lead rider raised its hand again. In its palm now, a single gold coin. It hovered in the air and dropped not to the ground, but into nothing. And in that same heartbeat, a man appeared. Neat, but not as he'd been. This one had no eyes, just holes. And when he smiled, it was Melissa's voice that came out. She said she'd trade her soul for mine. Maria flinched. Tears welled up, but her hand stayed steady on the blade. You're not him. No, the thing said, but I'm what's left, what's owed. Alana raised her rifle again. The girl grabbed her wrist. Bullets won't stop ghosts, Alana. Then what will? Regret. Maria stepped forward, the knife clutched tight. She looked at the creature wearing her love's skin, at the shadows behind him, at the place she buried her own grief to survive. "You want me to come with you?" The thing nodded. That was the deal. Maria stared for a long time, then lifted the knife. "Then take the blade," she said. "What?" "Take it," she whispered, "because it's not mine anymore." The creature stepped forward, hand out. As it touched the hilt, the blade flared, not with light, but with everything it had ever killed. Screams, heat, blood, fire. The creature shrieked. The shadows recoiled. And Maria spoke, firm now. "You don't get to collect a soul that already paid." The coin in the air cracked, split in two. The creature fell to its knees. The shadows vanished with the wind. The blade dropped to the dirt. Black steel now burned clean. Maria fell too. But she was smiling, just slightly. "I remember who I meant to protect," she said. "Who?" Alana asked, kneeling beside her. Maria didn't answer. She was already unconscious. Chapter 35. What the fire tried to hide. Dawn broke like a slow bruise over the horizon. The camp sat still quiet, but wrong. The silence wasn't peace. It was held breath. Maria lay curled under her coat near the cold embers, her skin clammy, the firelight's memory still burning behind her eyelids. She hadn't stirred since the shadows vanished. Not a whisper, not a twitch. The blade now rested beside her, cool and silent. Alana sat by her side. The girl stood, arms folded, eyes on the eastern ridge. "She'll wake," the girl said, her voice soft but certain. "How do you know?" "Because she hasn't finished bleeding yet." Alana ran her fingers along the barrel of her rifle, tracing the nicks in the metal like prayer beads. "That was neat," she muttered, "or part of him." "A shade," the girl replied, built from what she remembered, what she feared, not what he was, just what was left. "You think we're done with that part of the journey?" The girl turned slowly. "There's no done, just deeper." Maria stirred. Not woke, just shifted. Alana reached for her, but stopped halfway. She wasn't sure who would open their eyes, but it was Maria. Her voice came out hoarse, raw. "I saw her." "Who? Who?" "Melissa." The girl stepped closer, crouched at her side. "What did she say?" Maria blinked. Her eyes weren't glassy. They were clear. "She said we weren't meant to win." "Then what are we doing?" Alana asked. Maria slowly sat up. "We're here to choose who loses." Suddenly, the wind shifted. Not naturally. With intent. The girl tensed. "Something's opening again." "Where?" Alana asked, already checking her rounds. The girl pointed to the horizon. "Wyrmstone Canyon." Alana and Maria both froze. "That place is cursed," Alana muttered. "Cursed because something happened there no one finished burying," Maria said. "Then maybe it's time someone did." The girl turned to both of them. "You ready to go back to where it started?" Maria stood, shakily but certain. Alana shouldered her rifle. Let's find out what the fire tried to hide. Chapter 36. Wyrmstone Canyon. They reached the rim of Wyrmstone Canyon by noon the next day. It looked like a scar carved into the earth by something too big to name and too angry to rest. The canyon walls weren't natural, they twisted inward, like claws had raked through the rock and curled it into itself. Burnt trees dotted the cliffs above, blackened and bent, their limbs reaching toward the sky like they died praying. No birds, no wind, just the sound of hooves crunching gravel as Alana, Maria, and the girl dismounted and stared into the abyss. "This is where the rituals began," the girl said. "Before Melissa, before even Ivy." "What were they trying to wake?" Maria asked. "Not wake," she said. "Bind." They climbed down the canyon's edge, one careful foothold at a time. Alana led, boots silent, eyes sharp. Maria followed with her blade drawn. The girl moved last slow, steady, like the earth itself was watching her. Halfway down, the girl stopped and touched the stone. It pulsed, just once, but enough to turn the air cold. "It remembers," she whispered. "Remembers what?" Alana asked. "The betrayal. At the canyon floor, they found it, a stone circle, almost buried in sand. Symbols carved into the walls around it, etched in long dead language spirals, teeth, suns with too many rays. In the center of the circle was a single wooden post, scorched, and beneath it, bones. Not human, not animal, twisted, large, fossilized, like something the earth had tried to digest. What did they bind here? Maria whispered. The girl looked down at the post. Not what? Who? She knelt, pressed her hand to the dirt, then jerked back. It's still alive. The ground trembled. The spiral beneath them, faint and buried, began to glow. Red, then white, then something in between. And then, a voice. Low, not spoken, felt. You opened me. Alana stepped between the girl and the circle, rifle raised. Maria spun, watching the canyon walls. The bones began to shift. One cracked, another rolled, and a massive hand charred and skeletal pushed its way through the center of the circle. What the hell is that? Alana shouted. The first one, the girl whispered. The first what? The first Spiralborn. The earth split at the seams. A head emerged horned, not demonic, but wrong, like it had once been human before the gods got bored and reshaped it. It looked straight at the girl. You are her daughter. I'm no one's daughter, the girl said. The creature smiled, jagged, slow. You will be. Then it rose, fully. And Wyrmstone Canyon remembered why it had tried to forget. Chapter 37, The First Spiralborn. The creature towered over them. 12 feet high, maybe Morate's bones fused with the earth itself, like rock had grown around a skeleton mid-scream, skin like cracked obsidian, runes glowing beneath the surface like veins of cooling lava. No eyes, just sockets filled with wind and time. It smelled like old prayers and fresh ash. Alana had faced death before, but never one that remembered her name before she gave it. Move, she yelled, pulling the girl back. Maria slid beside her, blade already wet from her own palm. She'd drawn blood without realizing it. A warrior's instinct. What is it waiting for? She hissed. The girl stepped forward. It's choosing. Choosing what? Whether to kill us or keep us. The Spiralborn's hand opened wide, revealing something inside its palm. A brand. Circular, familiar. The spiral, but not carved, burned into the bone. She tried to erase us. The voice came from within the earth itself. Every rock, every grain of dust, vibrated with it. She forgot what she owed. Maria flinched. Melissa? The creature nodded, impossibly slow. Her fire was a lie, her death an excuse. Alana raised her rifle again. She saved the girl. She saved herself. From us. From me. The Spiralborn raised its other hand. From beneath the soil, more bones twitched smaller, faster. And then they weren't bones anymore. They were people. Twisted, burned, spiral scarred. Climbers. That's what they were protecting, Alana whispered. The original ones, Maria said. The ones before Melissa. The ones Melissa ran from. The Spiralborn leaned forward, so close its breath could have turned skin to stone. I want my daughter back. The girl didn't flinch. You're not my blood. You came from my prison. You're mine. She stepped forward. Then try to take me. The ground ruptured. Dozens of figures clawed their way, free former binders, former priests, former gods, some human, some not. Alana fired. Maria leapt. The girl stood still, arms wide, spiral burning in her chest again like it had never left. You want your daughter? Here I am. Chapter 38. Fire that doesn't burn. The Spiralborn struck the canyon floor like a falling cathedral. Stone shattered, dust gazed, echoes screamed for miles. And yet, when the smoke cleared, she was still standing. The girl. Not burned. Not broken. Eyes wide, hands lifted. And in front of her, a shield of pure spiral light. Not gold, not white. Something older, a memory of protection. Something Melissa left behind when she died, maybe on purpose. Alana scrambled up from the rocks, bleeding from her scalp, coughing dust. She's still up. Maria pulled herself to her feet, shoulder dislocated, but blade still in hand. It didn't touch her. No, Alana muttered. It couldn't. The Spiralborn reeled, stepping back. It hissed not in pain, but confusion, like the rules had changed mid-battle. The mark is mine. The girl looked up, spiral flaring bright across her sternum. No, she said, it's ours now. The light from her chest cracked open the canyon again. Only this time, it wasn't Earth that broke. It was memory. Suddenly they were somewhere else. Still standing on rock, still surrounded by twisted spirits, and the Spiralborn, but time had peeled away. They saw a younger Melissa standing in the same canyon. They saw Ivy crying, chanting, holding the knife that would later bury her name. They saw the ritual, the first one, the mistake. They saw the creature emerge for the first time, whisper its name into the canyon walls. Eustace. He was a man, Alana whispered. He was a god, the girl corrected, because people made him one. Maria gritted her teeth. Then maybe it's time to unmake him. They blinked, and time snapped shut. Back in the present, back in fire, back with Eustace towering, angry, afraid. Alana turned to the girl. What now? The girl closed her eyes. We finish what Melissa started. You mean kill him? No, she said. She opened her eyes, and they were glowing spiral white. We bury him, for real this time. She stepped forward into the fire. It parted, and the Spiralborn screamed a sound that shook the sky. And so, beneath a sky carved open by fire and memory, the Spiralborn scream echoed through Wyrmstone Canyon louder than thunder, older than time. The girl didn't run. Maria stood blade first against the thing she once bargained with. And Alana, marked by the spiral and scarred by loss, stared down a god and didn't blink. Eustace had come to reclaim what he thought was his. But this time, the dead weren't giving anything back. This isn't survival anymore. This is the beginning of the reckoning. Part 3 is coming. And Whispers Between Worlds uploads daily.